So late last year, there was a viral post about therapy on X, which said that therapy only works if you have a lower IQ than your therapist. All right, interesting. Let's explore whether that is the case. Certainly a lot of people tended to agree with it. It got over 100K likes, millions of views, a bunch of people pawning it off as their own, copy-pasting it. So let's try and dissect this claim. Now, first of all, I don't know if there is any study that actually has tested this hypothesis, whether they've measured the IQs of therapists and their clients and then tracked their outcomes, correlated the IQs with the outcomes. So I'll just defer to my own experience. And even though I don't know the IQs of the people I've worked with, I can guarantee I would bet everything I own on the fact that there are at least some of them, plenty of them perhaps, that have much higher IQs than I do. And yet they still seem to benefit from the process. So I know that's anecdotal, but that is my experience. And if you think about it, certainly intelligence is nice to have. And if the therapist you choose, or you want to filter for a therapist that you think is really smart, you're free to do that. I don't see how it would necessarily hurt. But the idea that it is impossible for a therapist that perhaps you consider less smart than yourself can't help you at all is perhaps a bit of a leap. And so you can be smart in a bunch of different areas, but all you need is one blind spot to justify seeking out some help. You can be excelling in all these different areas of life, which is what I've seen in these very smart people I work with. They're often very good, they make a bunch of money, they have great careers, and they just have this one area, whether it's their family or a romantic relationship, or how they navigate romantic relationships, dating, something like that, that they're unhappy with, they're dissatisfied with, and they get stuck in this repetitive pattern, which is another facet of this that is useful to talk about, because it doesn't matter how smart you are if the way you frame a problem is incorrect. We've all heard this platitude, think outside the box, right? And the implication is that if you're stuck within a box, thinking within a certain border, that you're going to be limited, that your set of options, the choices you can make, the solutions you can potentially implement, the kind of experiments you can run is constrained. So by expanding or breaking free of these constraints, you can explore new territory. But regardless of how smart you are, if you're fixated, you're committed to a particular border, particular set of constraints, then you've kind of nullified your intelligence to a large extent. And so one of the benefits of the therapeutic process is that you might not know you've done that. And sometimes it can take a third-party observer to point that out to you, to make that conscious to you, that you've self-imposed these barriers. And so you have become you've gotten stuck in a game I've discussed before, the more of the same game, where you think you already have the solution or you already have the right strategy to solve what you consider to be your problem. But your application of it is just somehow imperfect. And so if you just refine it in some way, you'll eventually get what you want. And people can do this for years, decades, just refining the same, quote, solution within the same constraints, the same box, and they're getting nowhere. So, to reiterate, that's all that's really required, that you have a blind spot and why not have a third party take a look at it? Now, some of you might say, well, I have friends and family around me to do that. They can check me. Well, they're embedded in your system. They have biases, loyalties that can confound their objectivity. So that's the advantage of a therapist. Not to say that a therapist is perfectly objective, but they don't have the same kind of allegiances. They're not invested in your system in the same way. So the hope is that they can view things from a more objective vantage point and see things to you that you take for granted, that to them are novel and new, and because they're an alien, they're a foreigner just visiting your life. The things that have become normal to you, they can notice very easily, because they've seen it many times. All right. So something else worth noting is that let's grant that you're smarter than your therapist, or smarter than all therapists you could potentially choose. All right. Well, does that mean that? Let's assume that you're capable of solving whatever problem you believe you have, and you don't need a therapist to help you with it. Well, we're talking within a situation in which there is a problem, though. So thus far, you haven't solved it. Now, again, I'm willing to grant that perhaps you're capable of solving it. It's just going to take you some time. But there are lots of problems we have that we are capable of solving, but that we choose to delegate to someone else. Why do we do that if we could do it ourselves? Well, because we all have a limited amount of time. And if you think you're smart, odds are you think your time is valuable, so you don't want to waste it. So odds are you delegate more mundane, repetitive tasks to other people. You're willing to part with money to free up that time, whether it's your taxes, maintenance on your car, laundry, whatever it is. So again, it's not because you can't do those things, you're too stupid to do them, but you'd prefer to have someone else expedite that process for you. Just take care of it. And therapy can be viewed in the same way. But yeah, perhaps you're capable of solving these issues you have, psychological issues you have, by reading or doing your own self-reflection, journaling, whatever it is. But if there's a chance that someone can help you accelerate that process, would you not want to do that? Because this stuff can take a long time to fix. And sometimes people have to make a bunch of mistakes, costly mistakes, to get to these kind of realizations that they're aiming at. So, not to say that therapy is a quick process, it can be slow, but again, compared to what? if you anticipate that it's going to take you a long time to do independently, why not attempt to lean on someone else to see if they can speed up the process for you? So there's not a need to assume that by going to therapy, that means that you're incapable of solving your own problems. And to be honest, a good therapist is going to do everything they can to ensure that you're in control of your life, that your agency and independence is safeguarded. And they're not just going to yank the reins away from you and lead you around based on the fact that, oh, I'm just so smart. Yeah, let's take that as an example. Let's say you did find some super smart therapist that's smarter than you. So what are you expecting them to do? Just say, okay, I'm smarter than you, so just trust me, bro. Just do what I say. Here's my IQ. Here's your IQ. My IQ is a bigger number. So just do what I say, and we'll get you what you want. You think that's how this works? So this is a misunderstanding of the process. Therapy is not, it's not an exchange whereby you pay someone who you think is just smarter or wiser than you to tell you what to do. There's plenty of people you can find to do that, but they're not doing therapy. So if that's what you're looking for, go ahead. I'm sure there's plenty of people willing to take your money to tell you what to do and to claim that they're smart and they have the answer. But that's not how therapy works, ideally. And this notion of an answer, that it's just, we just need to apply our raw brain power to a problem and we'll figure it out. And then the end point is getting an answer and then we just implement the solution. That's it. Again, this is a simplification of the process. And the word process is worth underscoring here, because that's part of what makes therapy unique, the process itself, not this endpoint you're trying to reach. The process in of itself is part of the intervention. But for some of you, even arriving at an answer is not going to be enough. You think, oh, once I can reach an answer, I will be able to solve this problem. Well, first of all, going through the process, you may realize that the way you frame the problem is the problem. And then if you change that, it's not a problem. Now, if there is a genuine problem and we reach some realizations, we expand your range of choice, and there's now the opportunity to make some decisions. Well, for some of you, those realizations and those, quote, solutions are going to be very upsetting to you. And you may decide that the implementation of those solutions is so costly or so anathema to your values that you would rather tolerate whatever problem you've diagnosed that you're currently dealing with, currently having to tolerate. So there's a lot of layers to this. And again, this is not to discount intelligence. It's a valuable asset. you can find someone smart to work with, great. But the idea that someone that has chosen to specialize in this particular area but may have on average a lower intelligence than you can't help you seems a little short-sighted. And again, there are plenty of other things we do. We delegate, tasks we delegate to people, not because we think they're smarter than us, but just because they have a specialty in that area and we'd rather not waste our time doing it. Or if we were to do it, it would take a lot longer. All right? Okay. I think that's everything. Thanks. If you are considering therapy, perhaps I can make another video on other things to maybe look for in filtering. Again, intelligence may be one, but there are perhaps more meaningful traits that are worth looking out for. All right, thanks.